They didn't make a mistake. They made a decision. And if you forgive it, you're not healing. You're handing the knife back to the person who cut you. Not every betrayal deserves closure. Some deserve distance. Some deserve silence. And some deserve a locked door with no explanation. Because while modern culture loves to romanticize second chances and everyone makes mistakes, Stoicism takes a sharper stance. If someone violates your core values once with full awareness, that's not a slip. It's strategy. It was calculated, it was tested, and you were the experiment. Too many people are stuck in cycles of manipulation, disrespect, and repeated pain because they confuse kindness with weakness and compassion with self-betrayal. But here's the truth. The more you forgive without consequence, the more they learn there aren't any. And the more they repeat. The Stoics taught emotional control, not emotional surrender. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It's a disgrace in this life when the soul surrenders." When you keep taking back people who knowingly undermine you, lie to you, humiliate you, and wrap it all in a performance of regret, you are no longer being loving, you are betraying yourself. This video will walk you through betrayals that aren't petty, dramatic, or too harsh to hold on to. These are betrayals that rot the foundation of trust, that twist love into obligation, that turn relationships into traps. And once you recognize them, you must act with clarity, not compassion. Because some betrayals don't deserve a seat at your table ever again. If this message hits where it hurts, good. That means you're finally done lying to yourself. Like the video, share it with someone who needs the reminder. Subscribe to Victory Stoic for more brutal clarity and practical truth. And comment below, what betrayal opened your eyes for good? What's your code when your values are violated? Now let's talk about the kind of disloyalty no apology should ever fix. Number 1, the calculated betrayal, disguised as an oops. There's a kind of betrayal that cuts deeper than any outburst, mistake, or heated slip-up. It's not spontaneous, it's not emotional, it's strategic, it's clean, cold, deliberate. And when it's exposed, the person behind it doesn't rage, doesn't cry, doesn't even beg. Instead, they offer you the softest dagger. I didn't mean to. It just happened. But it didn't just happen. It was built, chosen, rehearsed, hidden. It took time, planning, and the conscious decision to keep going. And yet when caught, they act like it was no different than forgetting to lock a door. This is not a stumble. This is sabotage, disguised as clumsiness. And if you forgive it, they win. Not just your trust, but your silence. Psychologists call this minimization, a manipulative tactic where someone downplays serious harm to avoid accountability. Dr. George Simon, who studied covert narcissism and manipulation, explains that minimizing isn't accidental, it's a tool. It reframes betrayal into a misunderstanding so the betrayer can avoid consequences while keeping your access. The Stoics saw through this centuries ago. Seneca wrote, "A sin that is concealed is a sin doubled." In other words, when someone wrongs you, then lies about the nature of it to save face, that isn't remorse. That's strategy. It's a chess move, and you're the board. Let's talk reality. Jason, 40, works in logistics in North Carolina. He found out his girlfriend had been emotionally involved with her coworker for 3 months. Daily texts, private lunches, conversations she wouldn't let Jason see. When he confronted her, she didn't deny it. She just said, "I wasn't planning to act on it. I was just confused. It's not like I cheated." Jason wanted to believe that. He wanted to keep the peace. But something in him woke up. She didn't stumble into that entanglement. She chose every step, hid it, nurtured it, and when she got caught, she didn't apologize for the choices. She minimized the outcome. That was the real betrayal. Here's the truth. Calculated betrayal always reveals itself in the aftermath. Not just in what they did, but how they frame it when they're cornered. The more casual they are, the more dangerous they are. Because someone who betrays you intentionally and then acts like it was a moment of weakness isn't sorry. They're sorry you found out. And here's what makes it worse. If you forgive that kind of betrayal, you become the accessory. You confirm that they can betray your trust and then narrate the damage however they like. They write the script, you keep acting in it. What's the Stoic response? Clarity. Disengagement. Immediate consequence without theatrical revenge. Epictetus taught, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them." So judge this betrayal clearly. Strip the emotion and call it what it is, a campaign of deception, not a lapse in judgment. And from that recognition, take action. How do you build protection against this kind of betrayal? 1. Observe how people handle temptation before they're caught. Are they transparent or secretive? Do they share details naturally or only when pressed? 2. Ask how they define betrayal. If they draw the line only at sex, you're already in danger. Emotional betrayal is real, and planning a betrayal is a betrayal, even if it hasn't happened yet. 3. Train your mind to stop being comforted by soft words after hard wounds. Not every apology is sincere. Some are weapons. Some are meant to buy time and lower your guard. And if you've been through this already, ask yourself the question Jason did. Do I want peace or do I want truth? Because you can't have both when you're living with someone who hides knives behind casual smiles. Forgiveness isn't Stoic if it's blind. Forgiveness in Stoic thought must be rational. Lucius Annaeus Seneca wrote, "The first and greatest punishment of the sinner is the conscience of sin. Let that punishment remain with them. Your job is to protect the fortress of your values, not to make space for liars to move in and redecorate. Some betrayals are accidents, some are impulses. But this one, the planned betrayal cloaked in an oops, is not among them. Don't let them rewrite it. Don't let them soften it. And above all, don't let them back in. Your boundaries aren't cruel. They're your guardrails against people who smile while dismantling your peace. Recognize the calculation behind the careless mistake and leave them to live with the result they chose. 2. They build their reputation with the ashes of yours. They smile in your face, then sell pieces of your name the second you walk away. Not because they hate you, but because using you is easier than building themselves. There's a particular kind of betrayal that hides behind venting, behind just being honest, behind I'm just telling my side of the story. But the truth is this, they're not telling their story, they're rewriting yours. And they're using your name, your flaws, your private moments, and even your silence to earn favor, sympathy, status, or influence with someone else. This is not immaturity, it's not emotional overflow, it's social strategy. It's turning you into a stepping stone to elevate their own image, and if you forgive it, you're just agreeing to be a prop in their campaign. The Stoics had no time for slanderers. Epictetus warned, when another blames you or hates you, turn to your own actions and ask whether it is just. But what happens when the person doing the blaming isn't your enemy, but someone who claims to love you? Here's how it usually plays out. They tell people about your flaws, but not your growth. They share the version of events that makes you look impulsive, selfish, or cold, but somehow forget to include their own provocations, omissions, and decisions. They weaponize your truth, but edit out the context. You've become a one-dimensional character in their personal PR story. Look at what I had to put up with. They don't seek understanding, they seek applause. Let me tell you about Mia and Derek. Mia, a 32-year-old digital marketing exec in LA, spent 2 years with Derek, who was kind, private, and serious about building a future. When things began to unravel, due to communication gaps, not infidelity, not cruelty, Mia didn't process the breakup. She curated it. She told her friends he never supported her dreams, when in fact, he helped fund her side business. She said he was emotionally distant, when really, he was quietly holding space while she chased trends and clout. But the worst part, Mia told a mutual friend, he was intimidated by my success. A lie, cleanly delivered. It got her cheers, it made her look empowered. But it wasn't empowerment, it was theft. She stole his dignity to polish her own. That's how these people operate. They take your silence as permission. They weaponize your restraint, and the more you stay quiet, the more they take. Psychologists refer to this as relational aggression, a covert form of manipulation and control, especially common in people with high social intelligence but low emotional maturity. According to Dr. Leanne Leadham, such individuals use social influence to damage reputations in order to elevate themselves. It's not about truth, it's about positioning, about marketing themselves as the hero of a story they refuse to write honestly. This isn't gossip, it's reputation warfare. And when it's done by someone who once knew your dreams, your fears, your weaknesses, it's not just betrayal, it's psychological vandalism. The Stoic response? Withdrawal, not revenge. Clarity, not chaos. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." But that doesn't mean tolerance. It means action rooted in standards. If someone uses your name to clean up their image, cut them out without ceremony. No explanations, no counterposts, no campaigns to clear your name. Just distance, decisively. You don't fix this with confrontation. You fix it with separation. Because the person who can poison your name behind your back can never be trusted beside you again. And yes, they'll say you're overreacting, that it was just venting to a friend, that you're too sensitive. But if they were truly venting, why was every detail edited to favor them? Why was your humanity erased, your effort dismissed, your side untold? Because this wasn't release, it was reputation management. Here's the mindset shift. You are not responsible for defending your name in conversations you were never invited to. What you are responsible for is recognizing the character of someone who needs to shrink others to feel big. To build immunity against this kind of betrayal, practice what the Stoics preached. Speak little of others and speak only what you'd say in front of them. Then surround yourself with people who do the same, who would rather uplift in silence than slander in a crowd. Also, when someone new starts casually sharing dirt about their ex, their friends, their coworkers, believe them. You're watching their strategy in real time. One day, it'll be your turn in the story they twist. Ask yourself this simple question. Can this person hold a version of the story where they're not the hero? If the answer is no, be very careful how much of your life you hand over. Because when it's over, and with people like this, it always ends, they will not protect your name. They will capitalize on it. So no, you don't forgive this kind of betrayal. You don't let it slide. You don't give them another chance to smile to your face while rehearsing their next monologue behind your back. You walk. You rebuild. And next time, you don't confuse charm with character. Because anyone who needs to ruin your reputation to build their own is already standing on something rotten. Let it collapse without you in it. Number 3. They turn your vulnerability into ammunition. You opened up. You trusted them. You shared the kind of truths that don't come with a filter. Your past, your fears, your failures, the things you swore you'd never say out loud. Not for sympathy, not for leverage, but because you thought you were safe. And then one day, during a fight, they pulled that truth out like a knife. Not to understand you, not to bridge the gap, but to wound you deeper than anyone else could. There's betrayal, and then there's this. Using your private confessions as weapons during conflict. Not because they lost control, but because they knew it would cut you where you're most human. It sounds like, oh, now you want to act like the victim? You cried about your daddy issues 2 months ago. No wonder your ex left you. You're still the same broken loser. Don't come at me when you can't even hold a job without breaking down. They'll dress it as brutal honesty, as you needed to hear it. But what they really mean is, I remembered exactly where it hurts most, and I saved it for when I needed to win. This isn't just emotional immaturity, it's emotional sadism. It's proof that their love was conditional and their loyalty was fake. Because someone who stores your pain like blackmail isn't a partner. They're a ticking weapon waiting for the next argument. The Stoics had a word for people like this: malice bearers. Those who pretend to forgive or love while secretly accumulating ammunition. Seneca warned, "The man who lays up anger and waits for the right moment to strike is more savage than one who strikes in the heat of passion." In other words, it's not the outburst that's most dangerous, it's the calculation. Let's get specific. Andrew, 34, from Tampa, shared with his girlfriend something deeply personal. He had once contemplated suicide during a rough patch in his 20s. She hugged him, thanked him for trusting her, told him she'd never use that against him. 3 months later, during an argument about something completely unrelated, she snapped, "Maybe you should go back to fantasizing about ending your life since you're clearly not cut out for this relationship either." That moment didn't just end the fight, it ended the relationship. And a part of Andrew never forgot the chill of realizing the person he trusted most had just used his lowest moment as the final punch. This isn't rare. It happens in quiet relationships that look perfect from the outside. Because people who fight dirty don't always look toxic. They look passionate, fiery, emotionally raw. But the damage they do is long-term. It makes people shrink shut down, stop sharing. And the worst part? The abuser always spins it as your fault for trusting them too much. Psychologically, this tactic is a form of emotional invalidation mixed with contempt. According to Dr. John Gottman, contempt is the single greatest predictor of divorce or relationship breakdown. When someone uses your pain against you, it's not just mean, it's relational annihilation, because they're not attacking your opinion, they're attacking your core self. So what do? First, you don't argue with it. You don't try to justify why what they said was too far, because they already knew. That was the point. Second, you recognize this as a line that cannot be crossed again, ever. The moment someone uses your vulnerability as a tactic, they've shown you the true architecture of their character. Believe them. Third, you walk quietly, decisively. You don't need to scream. You don't need revenge. Just remove access. The Stoic answer here isn't to suppress emotion. It's to recognize which people don't deserve the weight of your story. Epictetus said, "It is better to be silent than to reveal what should be kept private." But once you do share, the listener has a moral duty, a sacred responsibility. If they break it, you don't owe them the benefit of the doubt. You owe yourself protection. And if you've already been through this and you stayed, be honest. Not just about what they did, but about why you tolerated it. Was it fear, shame, hope they'd change? Stoicism isn't about never getting hurt, it's about never staying where hurt is normalized. So never forgive this kind of betrayal. Not because you're bitter, but because you have standards, and once someone uses your soul against you, they forfeit the right to be close to it ever again. You can rebuild, but next time, guard your truth like treasure, and only hand it to someone who would rather protect it than ever use it. Number 4. They cheat, then blame you for it. They slept with someone else, not by accident, not in a dream, not while sleepwalking through a nightclub. They made a decision, step by step, moment by moment. And when they got caught, they didn't take full responsibility. They gave you the most insulting dagger of all. If you had just paid more attention to me, I wouldn't have done it. That's not remorse. That's reverse engineering the pain so that it lands back on you. That's not an apology. It's emotional gaslighting dressed up in romantic language. And if you accept it, you've just agreed to let betrayal be your fault. This is a special kind of manipulation, weaponized emotional reasoning, a twisted logic that turns their conscious betrayal into your emotional failure. It sounds like, if you weren't always busy, I wouldn't have looked elsewhere. You stopped making me feel wanted, so I got that need met somewhere else. I didn't feel seen anymore. Translation, I chose to lie, cheat, and destroy your trust, and now I expect you to feel guilty for it. Stoicism has no room for this kind of self-deception. Seneca wrote, "A wrongdoer is more unfortunate than the wronged." But that only holds true when the wrongdoer realizes they were wrong. When someone still frames their betrayal as your failure, they haven't changed, they've just shifted the spotlight. Let's get real. Imagine a friend steals your car, crashes it, and then blames you for not giving them a ride when they asked. That's what this is. Theft, destruction, and then accusation. It doesn't matter how emotionally unfulfilled they felt. Adultery is not an impulse, it's a project. It requires lies, logistics, deception, and usually a lot of rehearsing. Take Brian, 39, from Colorado Springs. His girlfriend of 3 years cheated on him with a coworker. Not once, not a slip-up, a full-on affair over several weeks. And when Brian found the texts, the photos, the hotel receipts, her first response was an apology. It was, "I tried to talk to you so many times. You never really listened." She cried. She listed all the ways Brian checked out emotionally. She said she needed to feel alive again. But here's what she didn't say. "I'm sorry I lied every single day. I'm sorry I used you while giving myself to someone else. I'm sorry I made you feel crazy when you started to suspect." No, she made him feel like he caused it. This kind of betrayal isn't just about cheating, it's about how it's framed. A mistake is followed by ownership. A pattern is followed by excuses. And someone who cheats and then blames you isn't ashamed. They're strategizing. They're reframing the story to keep the power. According to Dr. Shirley Glass, one of the leading researchers on infidelity, affairs are rarely about sex alone. They're about boundaries and entitlement. Cheaters often rationalize their actions through unmet emotional needs, but this doesn't absolve them. It reveals that they never had the courage or character to address the issue openly. Instead, they weaponize their unmet feelings as a moral justification to lie. This is where the Stoic mindset becomes essential. Marcus Aurelius said, "If someone does wrong, it is because they are mistaken about what is good." But once the mistake is exposed, continuing to justify it is no longer confusion, it's corruption. A person who truly regrets cheating will say, "I failed, I betrayed, I was selfish, there's no excuse." A person who wants to cheat again and just be smarter next time will say, "You pushed me to it, I wasn't getting what I needed." So what do? First, see through the narrative. The moment someone makes you the villain in their betrayal, stop negotiating. That's not a relationship, that's a con. Second, ask yourself, if I had actually done everything they wanted, been more affectionate, more present, more available, would they still have been faithful? Or would they have just found a different excuse later? Because people with weak character don't need a reason to betray you. They just need a rationalization to live with themselves afterward. Third, don't waste time trying to prove your worth to someone who used your absence as a green light to violate your trust. If they needed more connection, they could have spoken. If they wanted to leave, they could have said so. But they didn't want resolution. They wanted a backdoor. Stoicism reminds us that we are responsible for our own actions, not the reactions of others. Epictetus said, "No one is free who is not master of himself." The person who cheats and then blames is not in control. They're just good at damage control. And if you let them back in without consequences, they learn that betrayal works as long as they cry well enough afterward. Some people mistake patience for permission. Some mistake your forgiveness for forgetfulness. And the moment you accept blame for their broken loyalty, you've just written the blueprint for them to do it again. So draw the line, not because you're cold, but because you refuse to let someone rewrite reality. They didn't cheat because you were absent. They cheated because they were unprincipled. And that's a flaw you can't fix. They chose betrayal. Let them live with it, alone. Conclusion: when loyalty dies, don't bury yourself with it. They broke your trust, then brought you flowers to decorate the grave. They betrayed you, then cried just enough to confuse the jury. And somehow in this twisted courtroom of modern relationships, you're expected to feel guilty for not forgiving them. Let's get something clear. This isn't love, it's theater. And you've been cast as the fool who keeps giving standing ovations to someone who keeps stabbing you between acts. The applause ends now. Some betrayals aren't misunderstandings, they're blueprints. Designed, executed, justified with crocodile tears and discount philosophy. And if you let them back in, you're not giving them a second chance, you're giving them a second opportunity. Not to be better, but to be smarter in how they do it next time. The Stoics understood this. Marcus Aurelius wasn't sitting around writing affirmations about healing toxic love. He wrote, "If someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake, I'll gladly change. But if they lie and harm and cover it in pretty words, they've chosen their side, and I'll walk mine." Paraphrased, but the fire still burns. You don't owe anyone your forgiveness if they're using it to reload the same weapon. You don't need to be the bigger person if it means shrinking your self-respect. And you sure as hell don't need to keep bleeding just because they say they're sorry while holding the knife. If you're watching this and something hit a nerve, it should. Maybe you've forgiven too much. Maybe you've ignored the same red flag so many times it faded to gray. Maybe, just maybe, you've been calling it loyalty when what you're really doing is self-betrayal with better PR. It ends now. Like this video if it shook something awake. Share it if someone you know needs this dose of sharp clarity. Subscribe to Victory Stoic for more unfiltered truth, grounded in reason, not delusion. And drop your command code in the comments. What's the one rule you now live by when it comes to betrayal? Or share your story. When did you finally walk away? And what part of yourself did you reclaim? Thank you for listening. Thank you for waking up. And remember, you're not heartless for walking away from betrayal. You're finally honoring the part of you that refused to die with the lie.